Good evening from London, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are listening to Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. Last night was AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view, and we said going in they needed to deliver. Did they deliver? Absolutely, and we're going to get into why today, but did the main event deliver? Well, that's another story. We've got a lot to talk about. It's going to be a really, really fun show. And for a fun show, you need a fun panel. Let's kick things off with the head of reviewing, the man who reviewed the show last night, Full Gear, for us here at Wrestling Republic, Mr. Coby Galenzoski. Coby, how are you today?
Well, apparently I want to make myself stay up as long as I can to have a similar night as our UK friends over there, because I was up when they were waking up themselves. So I mean, it's always fun. It's good fun. The pay-per-view was electric. I thought it was very well done for what was presented. I don't know if it was the show of the year myself, but it was still a very high quality match, and to me, that's what AEW is always going to be able to do under the right circumstances, is deliver just compelling wrestling, period.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are right on that. That is that's their bread and butter. Just great wrestling. And last night was undoubtedly no different whatsoever. But also joining us, we have the man who stayed up last night with me and Coby watching it. And I think it finished about like 5:30 UK time, or I think it finished at 5, but by the time, you wrap everything up, it's about half 5 in the morning, so I'm knackered. Are you feeling the same way? The AEW reviewer, David. How are you today, David?
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I woke up. So I went to bed. I fell asleep with about 15 minutes of the main event to go, and I had to go back and rewatch the last 15 minutes this morning. I was so tired. 5 a.m. in the morning, and then I woke up and then immediately had to go and do 8 hours of a theatre rehearsal for a role that I'm performing in London. So it's been a very busy day, and come straight back here to do this. I'm excited to talk about Full Gear today. A show that I thought was very good. Was it show of the year? No. Was it AEW's best show of the year? No. Do I think it? I genuinely think it might be one of their weaker pay-per-views that they've put out this year, but that is no slight on the show. It's just that I actually think the quality's been incredibly high this year from AEW pay-per-views, as they always are. We have issues with the weekly TV, which I've mentioned many times, but the pay-per-view output's always very good. So I think there was a really, really good show with some really good stuff, but I don't think it was show of the year. But we'll get into it all, and the pros and the cons, and I'm very excited. Let's get at it.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going to be honest here. I feel like I'm going to slightly disagree with that. For me personally, I don't know. There's a few good ones, but I definitely preferred this to All In and Wrestle Dream. I definitely know that All Out is the one which I'm thinking, and then maybe I've got to think back to the other ones too. But last and certainly not least, Chaos. Chaos, how are you?
Well, there's one thing for sure. I'm definitely better energized than you guys, because once you have a little man and a family to take care of, obviously sleep takes priority, and then you watch it the next day. So I'm good. I've watched Full Gear earlier today, and it was a solid show. All I can say is I'm looking forward to when we do our annual top 10 best and top 10 worst pay-per-views of the year. Not to say that this is going to be on the worst, definitely not. But yeah, it's going to be very interesting. We have some solid pay-per-views from AEW and WWE this year, and obviously we're coming to the tail end of the year. So very interested to see where I rank this one, as well as the other lucky panelists that will be joining me on that. So stay tuned for that. But yeah. I'll say my reservation for obviously all the matches that we're gonna get into for Full Gear. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. Let's get straight to it.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of comments here. Firstly, Josh Markowitz. Hello, Josh, who's saying 5-star panel reviewing a 5-star pay-per-view. It only makes sense. Thank you very much, Josh. And we've also got Bobby Petito in the comments as well. Hello, Bobby. Happy Sunday to you.
And can I just quickly say, Ben, as well? This is the first time I've seen being on the show since you've upgraded to a 16K HD camera, making us all look like broke people out here. Don't worry, I'm gonna catch up to you. Don't worry, I got the intro sorted. I got the theme music. I just need a good camera. I'm a bit envious, just saying, but yeah, please continue.
The secret is I'm actually just using my phone camera, and it seems to do the job now. But anyway, let's jump right into it, and let's jump straight into the match. I want to talk about this first, right? It wasn't first on the card, but I want to talk about it first because everybody's dying to talk about it. It was the match which Coby rated 5 stars last night. I think universally everybody agreed with him, and that was Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page 2. This was a banger of a bout. I've got a YouTube video I'm going to be uploading later today. Well, I'm going to give a lot of my thoughts on it, but very, very briefly, I'm not usually a fan of death matches. I'm going to be honest, at times I think it's just an easy way to get, fans into a match. Bring out a weapon, yay! And all of that, right? Fans love it and all of that in arena, but at times it just feels lazy to me. This was the opposite of that. This justified it. I mean, there was a home invasion angle. A death match is a very good way to settle it, and these two fought to the death. Both men barely made it out alive, but Swerve Strickland made it out on top. He was the last man standing. Coby, I'll take this one to you first. What did you think about this 5-star instant classic?
See, this is the biggest thing is, to me, they did everything right with this match. This was their best built feud going into the thing, and this was what we would say a blood feud. These are two guys that despise each other and two guys that are willing to do whatever it takes. Swerve was willing to drag Hangman down to HE double hockey sticks. And that's what he did in this case. Hangman Page brought it. We've been very critical about kind of stars doing their entrance in a blood feud. Like, I know kind of the more recent one was Matt Riddle doing his entrance last year at Clash at the Castle when he was in such a heated feud with Seth. And it was like, well, why are you doing the entrance? Hangman didn't do it. Hangman stormed right through. He made his way to Swerve and wanted a piece of him. These two men were willing to destroy each other. In this case, they did. They had a lot of weapons, cinder blocks, barbed wire, a lot of blood, staple guns, the chain. The biggest thing to me is they sold us on the fact that these two men were really hurting each other. They were going through the pain. Swerve looked like Swerve collapsed at the end of it. So you could that in alone makes Hangman look great in this loss.
That's true.
Hey, they both gave each other everything in this match. That's what you want. But the biggest thing is death matches need to tell a story, and they did, because these two men the tensions were at its highest. Obviously, we know the results, the home invasion, the tensions, all the beef between them, and it all builds to this match. I didn't see anything that looked incredibly bad either, and I thought that was the perfect finish because you still kind of saw the fight in Hangman, but it didn't amount to anything to continue the match. And then the collapse was great as well. The selling is off the charts in this match. I understand if it's not your thing, but this is the type of match. This is a death match done right.
Yeah. No, I think that is, I think everybody's agreeing on that point. whether you like the style or you don't like the style. Josh Markowitz in the comments is saying this match made him rethink his decision to become a professional wrestler last night. And Bobby saying he liked the match as well, and Swerve should be the next AEW World Champion, a point I fully agree with. David, what were your thoughts on this just brutal, beautiful story told last night?
God, it was violent, wasn't it? Crikey. I mean, it's funny that the day of yesterday, I went to see the new Eli Roth horror film Thanksgiving in the cinema, and I winced all the way through it. Just some of the the kills in there were just horrible. And I thought that would be the one and done for the day, but no, got to experience it all over again with Hangman and Swerve too. It was a tremendous match. I mean, I've been very clear, not a deathmatch wrestling guy by any means of the imagination, but this was very well done. It was very well done. And getting Hangman stapling, the picture that Swerve took off his fridge, onto his head. That's just brilliantly orchestrated violence. And while I personally preferred Moxley and Hangman, just in the sense of it being like there being kind of a little bit more, I don't say fun to it, but kind of I found this one really grisly. But it was a more dramatic match, and for that sense, a very accomplished one. The only legitimate complaint I have with this match is I think it went 5 minutes too long. I think once you start getting into the Brian Cage interference, it kind of lost me a little bit, because I think a death match works better when it's a little bit more distilled and it's a little bit more kind of this outburst of violence that leads you and to kind of this big finish, and that just a little bit of overkill for me. But you can't fault the match. You can't fault any of the participants involved. They were all great, all did their jobs brilliantly. Swerve is, I've said for so long that Swerve is one of the best wrestlers on the planet, and I'm so glad that I'm being vindicated. He is just marvelous, and Hangman is also just incredible. Excellent, fantastic match, and super excited for Swerve now to see where he goes next, and Hangman as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you made a great point there about how the match at times, it was kind of harder to watch than a lot of even death matches in AEW, like you said, Hangman Moxley. This one was just at times just so intense that it was a little off-putting, and that is one of the reasons why I personally loved it so much, because like when you see people, like two people in real life who just hate each other, and you're a bystander in that situation, you feel just so uncomfortable. You like don't really know what to do. You kind of like, it's just such an uncomfortable feeling. And this match gave that feeling. And that is a hard thing to do. And it's one of the many reasons why this match for me, the more I talk about this match, the more which I think to myself, it might just end up being my match of the year. That's a big statement. Chaos, is that a statement you personally agree with?
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Where do we begin with this absolute gem of a movie? A movie of it pretty much was a movie, but
it was cinema.
It was like, just from Swerve's entrance was awesome. The fact you got like actual like female dancers doing Prince Nana's dance was great. You're right about Hangman. This was legit a blood feud. They've been attacking each other in other promotions, and then Hangman didn't bother to wait for his entrance. He just came and went and did his thing. That this might possibly be definitely one of their best, if not the best, Texas Death match in AEW history. The difference with this one is, and any ones that Moxley has been in, with Moxley's matches, they're just violent for the sake of being violent. With this one, there was total justification in everything that Hangman was doing, total justification in what Swerve was doing, and they did it. And it just looked natural, instead of a Moxley match where because it's John Moxley, he has to bleed and he has to do this crazy thing. It's not really watchable. I feel like those ones are more unwatchable than this one. Sure, it might have been a bit gruesome and stuff, but they were innovative in their moves, their finishes, and yeah, it was just like you could tell like there was a reason for this Texas Death match, and they pulled it all out. This stuff definitely, in my opinion, already is the best in the match of the night so far, like on the pay-per-view, rightly so. And this was, if obviously, if the match was if without this match, I think the pay-per-view would have been probably like be 3.5 stars, but this one obviously catapulted it way up. And yeah, it was, I was hoping that Swerve would actually win, because obviously, usually in WWE's in WWE's ground, obviously Swerve got the first win. Obviously the babyface has to get his W, but this time they actually went with Swerve. He's the one that's actually got the most momentum. I personally think after this, he needs to go and get something, a major championship. He's putting 5-star matches, not just with Hangman, but for the majority of this year. He's had a great year. He's definitely one of the top contenders for the main championship. Yeah, it makes me want to go and watch the match again, because it was uncomfortable, but it was the right kind of uncomfortable, and I absolutely loved it. It was just great storytelling. I'm fine with the ending with Cage and everything else. It was great, and they finished as well with hanging him with the chain. How ironic that was. Obviously, his name is Hangman and whatnot. Hung him with the chain, and yeah, it was just a definitive awesome ending. I can't say anything bad about it. Absolutely 5 stars, worthy of it.
Absolutely, it truly was just something. This match belongs in a museum, and that's all I'll say on it. I think this is going to get interesting though as we go on throughout the show, Chaos, because I'm going to be honest here. I thought the entire second half of the show, well, after the first couple of matches, and even those were good, the first couple, but after the first couple of matches, I thought all of the matches were basically 4.5 or above stars. So, I really thought from start to end, this pay-per-view was just top stuff. But let's just move on now to the 6-man tag match. And I said going into this one, right, that the storyline felt stale. Christian Cage, since Edge, now known as Adam Copeland, arrived in AEW, he's just kind of felt a bit stale. Well, how did they, make him feel fresh again? Well, they kicked off the show with a bunch of kids singing his entrance, and it was just the funniest thing ever, right? And then the match happened, and these 6 men, well, they exceeded expectations. I think all of us, we were in a Zoom meeting watching this, and all of us were just like, hang on a second, this match is a lot better than we thought it was going to be. And it absolutely did get to that level. Darby Allin decided to completely take himself out of action. And AEW, they confirmed on commentary that Darby Allin's now taking some time off. He's flying out this week to Mount Everest. So we don't know how long he's going to be gone for. We don't know anything else officially yet, but we're going to have to wait and see. But this match was seemingly writing him off television for a long while, because, commentary said he's going this week. But that climb seemingly going to be a lot more difficult now, because he bumped crazier than ever. He was just throwing his body all over the gaff. It was truly just crazy stuff. But this match was, like I said, it exceeded expectations. Nothing to go out of your way and definitely check out, but a very solid opener, and definitely the right place in the card to have it. What are your thoughts, Coby?
I was going to say, you didn't say anything.
I messed that one up, yeah.
To my knowledge, he's training, because they've said he's doing the climb is in April, but he's doing months of training to set this up. So, but 100%, it is going to make this a lot harder for him personally, because of the bumps, because of the wear on his body throughout the entire year. And entirely, I thought the match was very enjoyable, because a lot of it going into was Edge. Edge didn't want to do this, but Edge is saying Christian wanted to do this, and that was the entire story. I thought this was not the typical trios match we see from AEW, but it was and it wasn't, because it was well paced. It wasn't Full Metal. It wasn't that fast, not fast paced, but I mean, you get what I'm trying to say with that sense. It was a well structured match, nothing really innovative. I do want to say, like, I understand the involvement because of Sting, but why is Ric Flair getting involved? Like
That's
it
true.
irks me to see Ric Flair being involved in this capacity, but I understand it makes sense. Put it this way: I liked seeing the low blow because I popped for the low blow. It's fine. He didn't look bad. Like he got up right away when the Team Edgewood or Team Adam Copeland had won, but it was an enjoyable opener. It set the tone for it set the tone with a solid match for what will be a very solid show looking back on it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You are right there. It was one of those ones where it was a fun way to start the show. If it was later on in the show, the crowd might not have been quite as hot for it. I will agree with you there, and I'll also agree with what you were saying, Coby, about Ric Flair's involvement. It kind of just wasn't really necessary. Although I did love how him and Christian did the exact same spot but opposite ways that they did in 2020 during the pandemic. And Christian Cage, despite the fact he was giving the low blow this time, not receiving it, made the exact same expression again. It was very, very
Wasn't that a
funny.
disqualification when Ric Flair attacked Christian Cage? Wasn't that a disqualification? Shouldn't that have been a disqualification?
The referee didn't see.
He was
But I
right
mean,
there,
I
bro.
think.
He was right
Well,
there.
here's the thing, right? And I was saying this last night too. In AEW, they have a great excuse for all of these things, right? Whereas in WWE, they can't really get away with it as much. Because WWE say referees' discretion isn't a thing, whereas AEW say all the referees have referees' discretion. So it's something which I don't know if New Japan were the first ones to do it, but New Japan have done it for quite a few years now, and that's how a lot of people have gotten away with a lot of things there. But that's the excuse AEW have used from the start of the company. So I mean, at least I guess it's a bit consistent. But I mean, well, no, it shouldn't have really been a disqualification because it was Christian Cage giving it. I know Ric Flair tried to chop on him, but he's like 90 years old. Christian just didn't sell it. So I
I know
mean,
Christian Cage started it, but usually it's like any physical altercation from an outside manager. Well, obviously, I've got the WWE mind, really.
yeah.
But it felt like he just went into business for himself. But it's fine. It's all good. I'm not as long as he didn't mess anything up. I'm not fussed. So yeah, it was fine.
No, it's true. I mean, it is kind of just get out of jail free card, the entire referee's discretion thing. But I guess it's consistent. But now let's move on. And let's move on to the AEW International Championship match. Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley. I said going in that Jon Moxley should win this match, and he should win it quite quickly. And then they rebuild Orange Cassidy up and then do a third match, and it's a third chapter in a few months' time. Obviously, that was not the way which they, ended up going. Orange Cassidy won. So I just don't really know why he lost the title in the first place. But, I mean, understandably, the Moxley injury got in the way. David, you're a big Jon Moxley guy. Sorry, not Jon Moxley guy. You're a big Orange Cassidy guy. What did you think about this one?
I'm a big Jon Moxley guy as well. I very much like them both. But obviously I'm more of I'm a huge Cassidy fan. So the story for this has been all over the shop. The actual Moxley and Cassidy stuff has been fine, but the overall kind of stuff with the titles has all been a big mess, and that is what it is. I think I was a little bit harsh on this match when I saw it at 2 a.m. in the morning, expecting the level of All Out. It wasn't the level of All Out. I think it only went about 12 minutes. It was quite short, and they did what they had to do. I watched it again, actually, today, because I felt like I was quite down on it. And it is better than I thought it was last night. It's still nowhere near as good as their first one. It was never going to be, really. When it's put second on the card, that gives you a slight tip-off. I just think, it didn't quite have the spectacle. It didn't quite have the sort of the grandiosity that these two guys could have had. It feels a bit like I don't really know where we go from here, whether we're building to a third match, whether that is it, whether he's just conquered the beast and that's it. All felt a little bit anticlimactic, but the actual in-ring content was still very good. And like I said, I was quite down on it when I saw it. I still thought it was a good match last night, but I felt a little bit like I've been shortchanged. And I still do a little bit, but I mean, it's Moxley and Cassidy. They're going to give you some fun stuff, but there's nothing that's like there's stuff in the first match that I will remember going forward. There's very little from this. I'll remember the no sell of the Orange Punch by Moxley on Dynamite more than I probably remember that. So it was a very fun little match, but it was quite forgettable.
Yeah, no, I do agree. And when you had something as perfect as their match at AEW All Out, I mean, that's just impossible to, kind of top. I mean, to even run it back so early after that, it's difficult. It really is. It's the same reason why they shouldn't touch Swerve and Hangman now for, a long time. And then obviously they need to finish that story, but, wait until the title's involved, in my opinion. And this is another one where I think they should have waited a little bit more. But now let's talk about one where they didn't wait. They did not wait to put the title on timeless Toni Storm. She might be timeless, but Tony Khan thinks her time is now, and she is the new AEW Women's Champion. She defeated Hikaru Shida for the title. This was probably, in my personal opinion, the weakest match by quite a bit on the card, but it did its job. Toni Storm is ridiculously over right now. Now she's the champion. It seemed like a grand finish and all of that. I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it did what it needed to do, but it was nothing special. But what I found excellent was in the press conference they did after the show, Toni Storm didn't turn up, but she did give a note to Tony Khan, and she did this handwritten note, and it was just absolutely brilliant. I don't know. I can't quote it off the top of my head now, but she basically was saying to Tony that he needs to congratulate her and all of that, but she's unable to make it because she's already on a flight to Europe. And it was just very, very funny. And then finally she ended it with Tony, stop drinking all of the coffee. So that was quite funny indeed. But Chaos, what did you think about this AEW Women's World Championship bout and the new champion, Timeless Toni Storm?
Yeah, I would agree as well. This was probably the weakest match on the card. I'm happy for Toni Storm. She's finally found her niche. I think over the time since this transition to Timeless, I haven't really been on a panel to say obviously what I think of it, my thoughts on her. And yeah, I'm enjoying it. She's found her lane, and it's led her back to the women's championship. It's a bit weird. I don't feel like there's a true progression for that title. It's kind of obviously it's been switched over to like Shida had it, then Saraya had it, and then Shida went it back, and now it's Toni Storm. It's a bit all over the place. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm probably one of the very few people that's not really a fan of Shida whenever she's champion. I mean, sure, she gets her she's been the workhorse during the COVID era, but yeah, that's as far as that goes. I don't see why she won it last time against Saraya. Obviously, they did it for shock value on that night or whatever it was. But yeah, it's it was. But going back to the match, it was fine for what it was. The ending was a bit messy because she was trying to see Toni was running up to Ishida, but she wasn't in the right position, so she had to run back and then do the dramatic thing, and then she had to readjust the thing in her ass and then do it. It was a bit happy. It kind of messed everything up, and then that kind of took the crowd out of it because the crowd was kind of hot for it. They were quite hot for it, but when they noticed the mishap when she did win, the crowd was a bit flat. So but yeah, I'm more curious to see what they're gonna do with I forgot her name. I'm really sorry, but she's obviously siding with Toni Storm right now.
Mariah May.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, her. Obviously it looks like they're kind of doing their own little twist of the Mickey James Stratus thing in their own way. I'm looking forward to see where they go with that. But yeah, it was fine for what it was, but I agree it was the weakest one. And yeah, just the ending kind of messed things up a bit, but yeah, it was fine for what it was. I'm happy for Toni Storm, and keep Shida away from the title. Thank you.
I don't think you're alone actually on the thought about Shida being champion, because I think everybody agrees that Shida's a great wrestler, and it's nothing even about Shida. It's not even Shida's fault, in my personal opinion, that her reigns haven't been great. It's just very simply they just book her horribly. Yeah. It's like just wrestling random matches and, them being half decent. That's not really good enough. And to be fair, she suffered from a couple of mediocre matches in this title reign as well.
Exactly.
And in fairness, when she's had as many great matches as she's had, like it's understandable. You're going to go through, times where maybe you're not quite on form or, you know, you and your opponent don't have as much chemistry. So again, not Shida's fault. But she has just been so unlucky. But Toni Storm, new champion, and Bobby Petito is saying that it was great to see Mariah May showing up after Timeless Toni Storm's match. And of course, yeah, Mariah May gave her some flowers. I'm interested to see where that storyline goes. These characters we're going to get into in just a bit, but having characters in a division makes all the difference. It really, really does. Now let's move on and let's talk about the tag team division, because Ricky Starks and Big Bill successfully defended their tag team championships against LFI, FTR, and Malachi Black and Brody King of the House of Black in an insane ladder match. Now this was the point in the show, right? This ladder match where everything from here was just outstanding. The first couple of matches were, you know, they were good stuff. Good, you know, God did their job. This is when they decided, hey, let's turn it up a notch. Let's go NXT TakeOver level. And they did. This match was just complete chaos. A brilliant ladder match. What a fatal four-way ladder match should be. Insane spots, but it all made, you know, relative sense. And I very much enjoyed it. Coby, what were your thoughts on this? And Ricky Starks and Big Bill still being tag team champions.
So like you said, we were watching together, and I was kind of the belief that there's no way they would retain. I do understand that this match has an integral part and belief surrounding what the other tag match in the card that will be talked about later. But believe me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first multi-team ladder match in AEW. I mean, aside from like the Reach for the Sky from Supercard of Honor in honor of Jay Briscoe. I'm pretty sure this is the first multi-team ladder match that we've seen. We've seen the original All Out with, I don't want to say it. I don't want to try to say it, but it was the Young Bucks and Lucha Brothers match. So I know that one was it. That one was electric, so was this one. This, once again, wasn't as chaotic as it normally would be. It was something that was entertaining, well-spaced. Everyone was getting their spots. Everyone was getting good moments. We saw... I kind of found it fun that we saw one ladder be used, I want to say, like 3 or 4 times in the I guess the closer right corner of the ring. The Gonzo bomb through the bridged ladder was amazing. Dash Harwood doing Cash Wheeler doing the splash of the ladder was great. I even liked the finish that it was that close, because it was that close of Ricky was on the top, FTR was there, they had to knock him down, and they got the win that quickly, instead of the typical moment of, oh, are they the only one in the ring? Yes, they are, and they get it. No, it was urgency, and I actually really like that in ladder matches. Of course, it's kind of hard to tell a story in 4-way ladder matches, but it was still for what it was. It was 4 teams that wanted to be the champions, wanted to do whatever it took. It was fairly entertaining. Brody got busted open the hard way, and that made the match even brutal as well. Not to the extent of the death match, but it was still cool to see, because it didn't seem like it was a blink.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that visual with the blood on the paint going down the beard as well, that was certainly something to behold. But let's now move on, and let's move on to talk about a match which, I'm going to be honest, I just adored this match. And it was the Triple Threat AEW TBS Championship match. Now, going into this, I said a few things on the show the other day. I said that it makes the TBS title feel important again, because Chris Statlander right now, she's on an amazing, she's on great form. But more importantly, Julia Hart has a great character now. Sky Blue is developing a great character now. This match had a ton of story in it. We know the tensions between Julia Hart and Sky Blue, and also Chris Statlander kind of being stuck in the middle of this Sky Blue, not turned because she is still a face, but this entire Sky Blue situation. So there was a lot of story going into this match. There was a lot of different layers to it. I quite liked it. I thought they built this one actually really well. And these three women, wow, oh wow, did they deliver? This was brilliant. There were several fantastic near falls. They told a great story throughout. Chris Statlander looked phenomenal. She looked like a beast during this match. She really, really did. All three women felt important. And I mean, that is the minimum, really. They should be feeling important when they're having a championship match. But let's be honest, a lot of times the booking of the women's division in AEW hasn't been to that level. Well, improvements are being made because this was, and I loved it. David, what were your thoughts on this triple threat TBS championship bout?
Well, I'm not sure I quite share the level of enthusiasm that you have for this, Ben, but I still thought it was a terrific match. A match that I didn't expect to be as good as it was, because I didn't expect it to be given the time. And I'm so glad that they did, because what you have here, you do have three great characters. I agree with that. I think Julia Hart is fantastic. She's only 22 as well, which is amazing. I'm happy to see Sky Blue get that extra little bit of characterization in there. Statlander is very, very good as always. And yeah, it started off good, and then they just built and built and built and built and built to something that was really good. Just again, the story was there. Not quite sure it was the wasn't the world's greatest story, but the story that they did tell in there was smart. Sorry, I muted myself then. The story that was the story kind of came along nicely. Nothing spectacular, but it was good there. And I just thought this built really nicely. I loved the closing angle with Julia it's kind of snatching the pin. That was brilliant. And yeah, I'm just so happy for Julia Hart because she's so good. I mean, she is now the youngest champion in AEW history, which is fantastic, and she deserves it because she's come on so much. And yeah, I'm so happy for her. I think that Julia Hart will become it's not going to be like the world's most defended title. I think that will kind of defeat the object. I think it's going to be something that's going to become a little bit more of a prize to take from Julia, but I do think she's going to hold it for quite a while, and I'm really excited by that prospect. Really enjoyed this.
Absolutely. It was just a great, great match. Bobby Petito agrees, and he's saying it was great to see Julia Hart winning the TBS Championship, now the youngest champion in AEW history. And Sky Blue, you could see her potential in that match, Bobby. I do agree with you. She is outstanding too. The future of this women's division is certainly looking bright right about now. And I, for one, am personally very, very, very excited for the future of it. But now let's move on to a bit of a weird one, actually. Let's move on to the Golden Jets. Kenny Omega, Chris Jericho taking on the Young Bucks. Now, this was positioned after the death match, right? So it kind of had an impossible level to live up to. But it did a phenomenal job at it, right? I actually think a lot more people would be talking about this match if it wasn't, stuck between the main event and that death match. But it was great. They all killed it. Great match. Indeed, that V-trigger where Kenny Omega teased doing it on Jericho and then instead on the Young Bucks. That was brilliant. That was a spot which I thought was perfect for the match. They told a phenomenal story through the action. They made it exciting. They did several near falls. The BTE trigger kick out. That was great and something which I'm going to be honest, I didn't expect in the moment. The one, the big takeaway from this is now the Golden Jets are the number one contenders. The Golden Jets beat the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks were furious. They were just tearing up the ringside area. Kenny Omega tried to shake their hands after the match, and they were having none of it. They walked out, and they just locked in absolute fury. They were throwing things everywhere. They're like, it's all gone wrong for us. And it kind of has. The Young Bucks haven't felt like the Young Bucks in AEW for a long, long time now. They feel like a shadow of themselves. And then finally, they had that opportunity again. They had it in their hands to be able to compete for the tag team championships. And then they lose it to a team who's only fought a couple of times in Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. It's going to be interesting to see where Jericho Omega thing goes. I presume they're going to win the tag belts, to be honest. But I don't know how much interest I have in that, to be honest. But this match itself, I really, really enjoyed. But what about you, Chaos? What were your thoughts on this one?
So, so two things happened on this pay-per-view. Obviously, we said that the Tony Storm against Sheeta match was my least favorite of the show. And this one was actually my least one I was going to look forward to. Story-wise, I couldn't care less about this thing. I'm so over Jericho. And this whole weird thing with obviously Omega, like where the hell did this Golden Jets thing come from? But I'm pretty sure there's a reason for it. Either way, you could explain it to me. I do not care. And the Young Bucks, this whole thing about them, obviously, just turning heel and things not going their way. I mean, obviously they were teasing it with their with the low blow and stuff, and then they went fully heel in this one. But the match itself was fine. Jericho was more on point this time when it came to the sudden counters. I know there was a move that one of the Young Bucks was doing, and then he reversed it and did a code breaker as a reversal, which was perfectly timed. That was really great. I did like the tease. Obviously, Kenny Omega, was he going to possibly side with his brothers in the Elite, or was he gonna? But then he obviously did the bounce back, and then V triggered one of the Bucks, whoever it was. And then obviously he got one hit with the one winged angel to him. This time he didn't bother to kick out the one, because usually when someone does the one winged angel to Omega, he kicks out immediately. This time he waited till 2. I was like, okay, cool, fair enough. The Bucks almost have the perfect have it perfectly to hit Omega with it, but I digress. The match itself was fine. Sure, Golden Jets are going to be number 1 contenders, whatever. And the one more intrigued about what the Young Bucks is going to do. Could they, the fact that Don Callis was at ringside, they could very well join the family. Just out of frustration because things ain't going their way, like you said. It wouldn't surprise me if they do, and they're the ones that actually cost Omega and Jericho to not win the championships against Big Bill and Ricky Starks. So yeah, it's most likely leading that way. I'm kind of over this thing with this whole flip-floppy thing with Young Bucks. They seem to be going face and heel at a rapid rate. It like they just don't know what to do. So I'm a bit frustrated with how they're being put together creatively. They just keep it. They're starting to be like the Big Show right now. I'll be honest. That's what it feels like. But I digress. The match itself was fun. And yeah, I'm more curious to see what the Young Bucks are going to do. Most likely join the Don Callis family, and yeah, to see where it goes from there. But yeah, that's what I was saying. It was fine. It was fun.
Yeah, no, I mean, I really hope you're wrong about them joining the family, because I do not want to see this Omega Jericho and Don Callis family feud continue. I don't. I like the family. I really do. I think they're a great faction. But let's move them on. Let's do something else with them now. Let's not just have them exist to be, the thorn in Omega and Jericho's side. Well, in terms of what's next for the Young Bucks, right? We got a comment here, Bobby Petito, saying Brandon Cutler did a tweet, and I verified this. Brandon Cutler has done a tweet. And the tweet says this: I am being told that the Young Bucks will be taking some time away from wrestling. People close to Matt and Nick's camp are asking for privacy during this time. I mean, I hope this is a work. I presume it's a work.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, I really do hope so. Hope everything's fine. But based on last night, it's probably a work. And they need to do something new. They need to change something up, because they've kind of, if I'm being brutally honest here, right? To me, they've been stale since Omega lost the title, right? That first time. I know they came back and they had that trios run and all of that. I think they've held the tag title since then as well. Of course they did, yeah. But even both of those reigns just felt like nothing to me, right? Since the heel Young Bucks we had during the Omega reign, I thought that worked. It was a bit cringe, whatever. But the Young Bucks, we had before that reign in AEW, the Young Bucks, which you all knew heading into AEW, we just haven't seen those same guys in so long now. And I hope we can see them again. I don't know if a heel turn is the answer. Maybe it is. But they need to do something. They need to do something new. That one is 100%. For sure. But now let's move on. Let's move on and talk about the main event, right? Because this was controversial. This one, some people were saying was 5 stars. Some people were saying was 3 stars. I've never seen, well, I have seen such a divide on a match before, but I've not seen recently a match this dividing a community, right? Because some people loved it. They thought that it made perfect sense. It was a great story told, while others, including myself, thought it was messy and overbooked. Let me break it down for you. The night started with MJF teaming up with Samoa Joe to successfully defend the ROH Tag Team Championships against the Guns. This was thanks to Adam Cole returning and being a bit of a distraction. It made the Guns look dumb. I did not like it. I would have preferred Joe to turn on MJF and then Joe to be the one to injure MJF. But I'm not going to, go and change that booking completely. For the sake of this, I'll pretend the exact same thing happened, right? MJF got injured, they did the chair spot, whatever. MJF went to the back, they took him away in an ambulance. This is where I have a problem. They should not have taken him to an ambulance. They should have just put him in the trainer's room and be like, oh, we're not sure if you can compete. And he should be like, no, I will compete. I'm going to fight through this. And then, the story throughout the night should just be, will MJF be, able to fight or not? I don't think they should have ever even mentioned Adam Cole being, replacing MJF, because it was just completely and utterly dumb. He's more injured than MJF is. MJF's injury was unknown. We know Adam Cole's injury. Britt Baker then was just to make things worse, was tweeting out, and to be fair, she tweeted out what we were all thinking, but as soon as you say it, even more people going about it. Britt Baker tweeted out saying, hang on, why was security stopping Max from fighting and not Adam? Great point, Britt. Great point. But, that's only going to lead to more complaints, isn't it? But the main event happened. MJF did return in the end. And I didn't mind MJF having this injury, right, going into the match. Because we all know Jay White can work with injuries very, very well. He can work on them. He's that type of slow, methodical wrestler that I didn't think was going to work in AEW. And I still just don't know if it will. Because he is so good, Jay White. But his style is just so different to everybody in AEW. And it's also so different to what a lot of the AEW audience like. So I didn't really understand at the time when they signed him if it was really a good idea. Because I thought he was just perfect for WWE style. I just thought that was the case. But anyway, I thought the match itself was fine. I think the entire ambulance stuff made MJF's injury look worse than they could have made it. They could have just made it with MJF's knees bad, whatever. He's in the trainer's room all show. But by him being out, going to the trainer's office, it made him it made Jay White look more stupid when he ended up losing the match. Adam Cole's involvement in the match, I thought was fine. I didn't have an issue with that. I know some people did. There was obviously that ref bump I thought was maybe a little over the top. But for me, if they just got rid of all the ambulance stuff, they never put Adam Cole in the match, and didn't do that final ref bump, I'm going to be honest, the more I think about this, the less of an issue I would have had. I actually probably said this match was a 4-2-5, 4-5 match. I know we did end up giving it 4-2-5 on our system. But, there was a lot of story there, in fairness to it as well. But it was just overbooked, wasn't it? It almost felt like a Roman Reigns championship match, but a much slower one. And when you mix those two things, I just don't think it's going to work for the AEW audience, because it's a very different audience. Chaos, I'm going to take this one to you first. What did you think of this World Championship contest?
Yeah, it was. I'm gonna take a word that you just said. Really, it was fine. I do understand it was definitely overbooked. Probably, if anything, dare I say, more overbooked than a Roman Reigns match, and that's saying a lot. There was a lot going on. I do agree. Maybe that whole thing about going to the ambulance and going hospital and coming back was a bit too much. And with the thing with Adam Cole, it feels like they're trying to somehow shoehorn Adam Cole to be the one to possibly turn on MJF, because there were so many instances when obviously he was trying to use his ROH championship, and then he was teasing it, and then he was literally just like hobbling like a meter every time to try and somehow hit, make it be believable that he was going to hit Jay White. And then obviously that didn't happen. And same thing with the ring. Somehow he had enough distance, and then he was slow, like he's quick enough to put it on the ring, but he was slowly trying to get close to try and take it away from Jay White. It looked like he was trying to find some kind of way to set up Jay White to take the title, and obviously he was teasing the throwing the towel, but he didn't. It was like it's trying to somehow blur the line to say like, yeah, I'm your friend, or I'm gonna screw you over later down the line. But yeah, the whole thing about teasing that he was going to be the one to defend the title for MJF and stuff, when we all knew that wasn't going to be the case. It was a bit of a stretch. The match itself was fine. MJF do it, pulling random things out of the bag, like that random RKO from the inside to the outside of the ring. He didn't need to do that, but he did. Yeah, this the selling of the injury was good. There was a couple times where I thought, oh my god, he's actually gonna probably win the title, Jay White. But yeah, no, MJF prevailed, which I'm happy for. I want this thing to keep on going until it comes to the bidding war of 2024, and then that's when we get Swerve to go and take the title from him. But yeah, it was fine for what it was. Definitely convoluted, more than it needed to be. Yeah, they're just like, and nothing about the devil again. What is this thing? It's like we was hoping that was gonna get like a resolution to this thing, but there was absolutely no mention. And this thing is just like, starting to make me wonder, do they actually have they got like the right person? Have they confirmed that person? Or like, what is going on with that? It's weird. But
well. I can tell you, Chaos, why we didn't see the devil actually. We didn't see the devil because the devil was at ringside. How were we going to see the devil when the devil was at ringside?
That too.
We never see them in the same place.
That dastardly Excalibur.
But in all seriousness, after last night, I think everybody now knows it's Adam Cole. They gave it away with that. I'm glad they've not revealed it yet. This storyline with the devil and MJF, it has legs, right? They've not really advanced it much yet. They've just introduced it and done a couple of things with the Acclaim the other week. That was the first time where they made, a big statement against people that, MJF's, are friends with or whatever like that. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think it's the Undisputed Era because in the first attack, one of them looked like they had a neck brace. Hashtag neck strong, Roddy strong. And I think Adam Cole is the brains behind the operation. So maybe Kyle O'Reilly returning from injury and Bobby Fish returning to the company. I mean, that is my wild prediction on that one. But David, what do you think? What do you think about this main event match? Jay White, MJF, and the story throughout the show building to it.
Wrestling doesn't need to be this hard. Here's the thing. When I said at the start of the show that I think this was one of AEW's weaker pay-per-views, it's still at a very high quality, because I think only really Double or Nothing has really kind of under-delivered for me this year. The reason is because of this show-long segment, show-long narrative through line that I found just really made it very messy. I liked the buy-in tag match fine enough, and I think that them injuring them kind of attacking MJF after the match is fine. But just give me MJF versus Jay White. You've promised me MJF versus Jay White. I've paid £15 of my money to see MJF versus Jay White. Just give me the match.
Yeah,
I don't need the ambulance. I don't need them kind of will they, won't they, potentially stripping him, bringing him back, putting Adam Cole in there, not putting Adam Cole in there. Because actually what it did was it took a match that had the potential to be really incredible, and I made it just a sell-a-thon for a long time, because I actually thought the match was quite boring, in the same way that I think some of the overbooked Roman Reigns matches are quite boring. Because although there were some great spots, some fun near falls, MJF and Jay White are great, and it wasn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. It was good. The elbow drop to the outside was fantastic. It was just, I wasn't that invested, because through the night they'd actually made me less invested, because they'd taken the thing that I wanted to see, which was MJF versus Jay White blowing off this months long blood feud that they've had. and just putting too many spices into the pot until it just starts to taste a bit sour. And all the ingredients are in the pot, so it should taste nice, but you just put a couple too many things that don't gel together, so it just gives the flavor of something that feels a bit off. So yeah, it was a weird one. I kept saying through the show when we were watching it last night, I'll wait till the end, I'll wait till the end, I'll wait till the end. And then the end came, and I was like, yeah, and I was really just was confirmed what I felt, which was why make such a mess of it? Like I said, I've paid my money to see MJF versus Jay White. Don't tease me that it won't happen. You don't need all that. Just give me the match I paid you for.
And that is that simple. Give us the match which we all paid for. I mean, why? They just made it too complicated. They really, really, really did. Get rid of the ambulance. Get rid of the entire Adam Cole being involved thing, and I think that solved the problem there. And you can still do the angle where, you know, Jay White's got an injury to work on, because clearly that's the only thing I can think of as to why they wanted to do it, because Jay White is always better when he's got an injury to work on. But they could have done it a lot, you know, they could have done it in a way simpler way. It kind of does feel like they're just trying to figure out, they're trying to do every babyface thing in the book for MJF, and they haven't done the big, you know, come back to the arena part yet, so that's what they wanted to do on this, but it was pointless. It really was. Coby, what about you? What did you think about the main event of Full Gear 2023?
So, I agree with all the criticisms that have been said around this match. Give me the match I was expecting. To me, this entire thing takes this and they had a solved Rubik's Cube, and they turned a face and said, oh, well, that's not as nice. That's not as satisfying to look at. This, I'm not going to criticize how they could have done this. I'm criticizing why they did this. Because the biggest thing, I mean, going into this year, none of us were going to expect an MJF face run, especially at the level that they're giving it, that they're doing one here in this case. He had such a face run. He's Adam Cole's best friend. He's going that way. What made MJF's face turn work is because he wasn't he wasn't the Cena type babyface. He wasn't kissing babies. He wasn't putting smiles on people's faces. He is, but he's still keeping what it makes MJF MJF. To me, this booking decision of, oh, let's do the ambulance, we'll do an injury angle, this reeks of, we're gonna give him a Super Cena vibe. And we know the criticism was Super Cena. We know they stacked the odds against him, and the Nexus still lost in SummerSlam. Why is Jay White, when the story was the Bullet Club Gold had MJF and had the advantage 4 months, and now MJF beats him on one leg? How am I supposed to take Jay White seriously? Jay White, to me, is almost ruined with that booking decision. I think he's a heck of a talent. I think he delivered in this match. I'm not going to criticize the match itself. I'm criticizing the booking. Why is MJF getting a unstoppable babyface rep now? That, to me, is what irks me in this case. And that's the problem I have here. I don't know what comes at World's End, what comes for World's End, but I agree with the similar sentiment. It's hard to believe someone else other than Adam Cole or Swerve Strickland is the one to dethrone MJF right now. That's the puzzling decision, and I don't know what's to come after that.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It kind of does have to be one of those two guys, and I do agree with you, Coby. This match certainly did hurt Jay White, just like it hurt the Guns earlier on in the night. But we got Ignacio, just as we wrap things up in the chat, saying if Tony would have done some research and did the same ambulance spot that WCW did with Sting and Rick Rude back at Clash of Champions in 1991, it would have been a lot better. Well, I'm going to be honest with you.
Asian as you, Ignacio, and plus, yeah, you and probably 10 other people were only watching WCW at that time. But I digress.
That's also that's a good point
I just
actually.
say, can't wait to see you soon, Ignacio. Can't wait. It's gonna be so much
That
fun.
Take It to the Table episode will come.
Ooh.
Don't worry.
It
It's
will
coming.
come. It will come. I promise.
Chaos! Get the tables! On that note, guys, we are going to be wrapping up the show. Thank you so much for watching. Tomorrow is Mailbag Monday, so please head to our Instagram story and send us in some questions to answer. It's always fun to answer those questions. If you're on YouTube, please like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, please give us a follow. And on Spotify, a cheeky 5 stars is always delightful. But thank you to Coby, thank you to Chaos, and thank you to David for joining me here today. We will see you guys same time tomorrow. Peace and enjoy.